Hello everyone, Lawrence here from Unicorn Reviews, and today we'll be reviewing Phanteks Enthoo Pro. First of all, a big thanks to Case King for supplying us with this review sample. And if you click the logo in the top right corner of the video, you'll go straight to the Enthoo Pro product page on the Case King website, so you can order one yourself because this case is pretty damn awesome. The case is shipped in a brown box and it's protected on all sides by this styrofoam packaging. It's not too great, but it's not horrible either. Moving on to the case itself, as you can see, I'm lucky enough to get the newly released white version of the Enthoo Pro. Bit weird thing with the white though is, because the black version has this brushed metal on the front and the top, they also tried to do this brushed look with the white, but it doesn't really show up on camera, so I'll paste the picture in right here so you can see what that looks like. But it's very hard to pick it up on camera, but you can see it in real life. But again, you don't really see the brushedness of the plastic top and front cover. The power button is on the top panel, so if you put stuff on your case, you might press that by accident. There's a nice click to it, but it's nothing special. And then the front I/O is pretty basic, with just a headphone and microphone connector, two USB 3 ports, and your reset button. Now this is all covered in something that looks like the top optical bay. It has this nice plate that goes back. Below the front I/O you'll find 3 removable optical bay covers, so you can go and remove that, and then underneath that there's a mesh with a dust filter behind it. There's of course also a easily removable dust filter in the front bottom as well as one in the rear, but we'll show that one later when we go to the rear of the case. Now the top, as I said, has the power button, but it's a very clean design. It looks powerful, but it's also subtle enough to put it in like a work environment, I think. But yeah, massive room in the top for up to a 420mm radiator at thicknesses up to 65 millimeters. So you can put pretty big radiators in there with push-pull. In the rear of the case you can see that there's a lot of room above the I/O plate, so that again gives you 65 millimeters of clearance above the motherboard, which is pretty great. The fan, you can put a 120 or 140mm fan in there. It actually comes with a 140mm fan by Phanteks itself, and it's in these slots, which I think are about 3 centimeters tall, the slots, so you can put the fan up or down depending on if you have an air cooler. You might want to put it a bit further up to help the CPU cooler itself, or if it's down, or you can put it down for clearing giant radiators, for example. You can see 8 PCI covers as well, next to a pump mount, or actually more like a tube reservoir mount next to it, so that kind of shows already that there's going to be a lot of room inside. On the right side of the case, as you can see, there are 2 windows, so one is really big and shows the power supply cover as well as all of the motherboard and the graphics card. You can put up to 35cm long graphics cards in there while also keeping all of the hard drive base. So any graphics card should fit, unless maybe if you watch this in the future and someone has put 3 GPUs in a single card, then it may not fit anymore, but at the moment any graphics card will fit in here. There's of course also the little window which shows the Phanteks logo, and the logo is removable, so if you're a system builder you can easily put your own logo on there. Everything is covered in this case, so all the ugly bits are covered. You don't see your power supply cables, you don't see the hard drives or the optical drives, everything is nicely covered. And the giant 200mm fan that's in the front actually blows, it sticks a bit out of that, that stealth cover, so air will also go past there, because I have to say that the hard drive bays are quite restrictive actually. So taking the front off, first you remove the dust filter. You can do it without it, but I prefer to remove the dust filter first because it makes it a bit easier. And then there's also a dust filter in the front panel, which is also removable, but it uses these tabs, which makes it a bit more difficult to remove the front dust filter. As you can see, it comes with a 200mm front fan, but there's room to put a dual 120mm in there, or radiators of course if you take out the hard drive base. There's also room for dual 140mm fans, so 280mm radiators will fit in there, and the thickness doesn't really matter because you have to take out the hard drive bays anyway. Removing the slots, well, the covers of your optical drives is pretty simple, although I don't like the fact that you have to take the front panel off. Some cases actually have these little latches and you can just take them off, the covers off, without taking the front panel off. But I guess it works. And then when you take them off, you have 3 more bays, unless you were to completely remove the front I/O panel, which you can do. Everything's held together with screws in this case, so you can easily unscrew it, and then you would have 4 bays, so you can put optical drives or bay rest combos in there, or in my case a GameCube, because that's more useful than optical drives. Everything's more useful than optical drives, really. Reinstalling the front panel is very easy. You just line it up and give it a few slight taps to put it back in place. Don't forget to put the dust filter back in, or you'll completely see all the fans and all the metal behind it. So the dust filter also helps make everything look a bit better. A bit of a downside, I would say, with the case is the power supply cover on the inside completely covers the power supply, so you have to take that off in order to install a power supply. I would really like to see them make it able to slide it in the rear, like with the H440 or cases like the Prodigy. You know, you can put the power supply in from the back. That would really make stuff a bit easier to build in, because every time you forgot to plug a cable into the power supply, you have to take the cover off. Or of course you could just wait with installing the cover back until the build is completely done. There's nothing fancy going on the left side of the case. It just comes off with 2 thumb screws. It's a hinged mechanism. Almost no flex to the side panel. I really like no flex to side panels. And behind that panel you have 3 to 4 centimeters of clearance for cable. So on the top you get 3 centimeters, but because the power supply area is a bit pushed over to the right side of the case, you get 4 centimeters, actually slightly more I think. But you know, if you can make this case look bad, then you should really not be building computers. Now Phanteks already has all the cables that you would need in there, so as you can see there are all of these hook and loops, they call them. They're really just Velcro straps to put the cables behind, which I think is really great, because you're no longer using zip ties or twist ties. It just looks cleaner, everything stays flatter. So building in this case is pretty much a dream. It's so easy to build in this case. Another really handy feature with the Phanteks Enthoo Pro and other Phanteks cases as well is what they call the hook and drop mechanism on the SSD. Pretty much all you do is you click your SSD into the bracket and then you screw it in with 4 screws on the sides. Then you can just hook it over rubber mounts, and this actually keeps your SSD in place very well, so you don't have to screw that in place, which again saves time, makes it easier to build in, and you don't have to mess around with screwdrivers and little fiddly screws and everything. The Enthoo Pro doesn't come with a fan controller, but it does have a PWM hub, so you have one cable that goes into your CPU fan header on the motherboard, and it then has backup power with the eSATA power connector, unless your motherboard doesn't really support PWM hubs, in which case if you plug in the SATA power, all your fans will run at 12 volts anyway, so you kind of have to read the manual on that one. Now I know I keep going on about how brilliant everything is in the Enthoo Pro, and another one of those brilliant things is the SSD mount, the hard drive mount. So it has these 2 flappy wings, as you can see on the sticker on them, so everything's well documented. But the caddy just has 2 wings that flap out, and then you drop your hard drive in there, close the wings again, and you can slide it in there. You can also completely remove the hard drive base, so it has this plastic handle actually. So the handle is all the way in normally, but when you pull it, it slides out a little bit, like about 1.5 centimeters or 2 centimeters. So you have a nice grip on it, and then you can pull the entire hard drive bay out, which is just really handy. One little thing though, the bottom bay was actually slightly bent. So instead of being a perfect square, it was more, I don't even know the English word for it, but yeah, it was a bit bent, so I have to use some persuasion to get it back into the right shape. But then, as you can see on the back, there's absolutely nothing, and the hard drive bays themselves are even padded with rubber so that when they touch the stealth cover they don't make rattling noises or everything. Alright guys, something I just love with this case is the accessory box. Now, in previous videos with way more expensive cases like the Corsair 760T, you may have seen me raging on about stupid little accessory boxes that contain nothing. But the Enthoo Pro has a color, well, the front at least is color printed, but really nice printed instruction manual, and then a hard plastic case with the tools in. It also comes with extra Velcro should you lose them, zip ties, and a pump mount or a tube brass mount. So you can hook that up as I'll show you right now, and you can just simply latch it in onto these bars that are also structural things to hold the case together, but you can hook that plate up to there and make everything easier to work on and have more room for your cool water cooling stuff. But the toolbox itself, you know, it's a clear hard plastic thing. It has nice hinges and every type of screw is nicely comparted in there, so they don't get mixed up, or you don't have these little bags that you have to rip open and then you no longer have anywhere to put your screws in. And to me that's just brilliant thinking by Phanteks. There's just one little thing that I would have done differently, which would be putting a sticker on the top of the box that actually says which type of screw is in which compartment, because I mean you'll see it you'll see what's in there right now, but if it had like a sticker with the names on there and everything, I would just be like this little extra bit just even better. Alright guys, time for the conclusion on the Enthoo Pro by Phanteks. It's brilliant, and so first of all, Golor right here, and I'll put my sponsor for this video, Case King, right here so you can click it and buy one yourself, because you are going to buy one because this case is am I allowed to say that on YouTube? I'll bleep that out. This case is very, very good. Yes. So if you're in the market for a computer case, an ATX case up to, I'd say 139 euros, because for 140 you can get the deluxe version, which has an RGB controller, and at that point it doesn't make sense anymore to buy this one. But if you're in the market for a case up to 139 euros, buy the Enthoo Pro. There's really nothing else that even comes close when it comes to, yeah, just build quality of the case itself, but also just how easy it is for you to build in this case, because as I said, it's so easy. Everything's except the bloody power supply. That's just crap with this one. But yeah, you're only going to install power supply once anyway, so brilliant case. If you're wondering, I'm not trying to blend in with the background and do some weird stuff. Actually, let's do weird stuff. And yeah, it's just brilliant, isn't it? I love this case. It almost made me change from my Prodigy, you know, make me an ATX guy again, but yeah, you can't get me away from my Prodigy. I love that case too much. But I also love this one, and I would definitely recommend anyone to buy this. And yeah, if you like the video, press the like button. If you dislike the video, press the dislike button. Please subscribe, no matter if you like it or dislike it, because the chances are that I will make a video that you do like. And leave a comment, you know, what do you think about this case? What case are you using? If you have any questions, my channel isn't big enough, so I can really easily reply to almost any comment on there, unless it's just a stupid question. But yeah, thank you all very, very much for watching.